I own gold and silver. I'm going to buy more of both sometime. I don't know when. It's been going down, correcting. If they correct enough, I'll buy more of both.
And I've heard you make some comments regarding stocks, bonds, currencies. You're seeing some pretty rough times ahead for them.
Oh yes, we haven't had a serious bear market in the U.S., for instance, for 13 years. That's the longest in American history. Now maybe it'll go for 30 years. I don't know, but it's already the longest in American history. So no, we're certainly going to have bad economic times again. In 2008 and 9, we had a big economic problem because of too much debt. Patrick, since then, the debt has skyrocketed. Look out the window. The debt has skyrocketed everywhere in the world. So the next economic problem is going to be the worst in my lifetime because there's staggering amounts of debt, like has never happened in world history.
Yeah, back in 2008, since you touched on that, the great financial crisis, in it, we saw the real estate market tumble and we saw a snowball effect going over into the financial markets. And today we have even higher debt, as you mentioned. We have astronomical home prices coupled with everyday inflation, supply chain bottlenecks, a labor market that looks to go soft. Are you seeing warning signs in the real estate markets?
Well, in some places, I mean, in Korea, they had a bubble. New Zealand, they had a bubble in property. That was partly because interest rates were so low. Interest rates were nothing around the world. But as interest rates have started going up, some of those bubbles have started to slow down a bit. And when interest rates get high again, it's going to destroy the property markets. It always has, and if you have, well, even if you don't have debt, if your neighbors have debt, it's going to hurt their property market too.
Jim, in prior interviews, you have said we don't have enough farmers. Let's say prior to the pandemic, up until here and now today, has the situation with not having enough farmers gotten better or perhaps worse?
It's gotten worse. I mean, more people in America study public relations than study agriculture. No, the average age of farmers in Japan is 66. In America, it's 58. I mean, I can go on and on. More people in the UK commit suicide in agriculture than any other field. So no, we don't have enough farmers. You probably went to school. Any of your friends become farmers? No,
No.
nobody. Very few people become farmers yet.
Of course, farmers produce real things, the real things being commodities, food commodities. Within commodities, which are you looking at most favorably now?
Probably agriculture, just because it's been such a disaster. But I mean, I own gold and silver. I'm going to buy more of both sometime. I don't know when. It's been going down, correcting. If they correct enough, I'll buy more of both. It just depends on how the world develops. Energy. If energy comes down enough, I'll certainly buy more energy. The market will tell me what to buy, Patrick.
Years ago, you also said you were looking at buying the ruble. Now, I know you didn't know that this war was going to happen, but what made you say get the ruble? Was it the strength you saw in Russia? Perhaps was it a weakness you saw in the U.S.?
Well, for what it's worth, I think the ruble has been the strongest currency in the world this year in 2022, if not the strongest, one of the strongest. No, Russia has and had in those days, as if they had huge natural resources, and the people in the Kremlin were changing their attitude. you know, Khrushchev was dead, Stalin was dead, Lenin was dead. There were lots of changes taking place in Russia, and they had huge natural resources, and they don't have much debt. And I mean, I'm not buying the ruble. I'm not suggesting you do it. I'm just saying, though, that the ruble this year has been the strongest currency in the world, or one of them.
Jim, we talked quite a bit about the economy, inflation, stagflation, a lot of uneasy things around the corner that should be pointing to a move to gold and silver. Any idea why prices in the two metals are not reflecting the traditional safe haven that they are? Now, I know you wanted to go down. I kind of wanted to go up, but why are the two metals not reflecting in price anyway, the safe haven asset that they traditionally are?
Well, partly because they ran up a lot. I mean, silver was $30 US dollars not long ago. It had a huge move. Gold was making all-time highs. And markets are markets, and you normally have corrections when something has been very, very strong. I mean, I don't know. You're the expert. I'm just telling you my knowledge, my limited knowledge of markets is that corrections are normal.
Is owning gold and silver more about just the price or the investment, or is there something else more to it?
Well, Patrick, if you can answer that question, we'll all be rich. You know, but what it doesn't matter what you're talking about. If you're talking about 10 cent or Amazon, whatever you're talking about, there are various and sundry factors which go into the price of any asset, including silver and gold and commodities. Agriculture, I said before, has been a disaster, so it may be cheaper on a historic basis. But silver's down, what, 60 or 70% from its all-time high?
Yeah.
That's not a bubble. I assure you that's not a bubble. Uh, my way is to look at what has happened to various assets in the past, see where they are now, try to figure out why, and try to figure out if that's going to change and things are going to get better in a year or two. But listen, I make many mistakes, Patrick.
And back in that time, we touched on the inflation slash stagflation, and today we're hearing that word more frequently. That word being stagflation. Can you, again, revisit the 70s and 80s where we experienced the stagflation, and can you share your thoughts about that period?
They're going to come again because it's even more printing money, man, more debt now than ever before, more government spending now than even then. And as I said, one difference is America was a creditor nation back in those days. Now it's the largest debtor nation in the history of the world. No, things got very, very serious. Equity markets, stock markets were a terrible place to be for a decade or so. Bonds were terrible. Everything was a terrible place to be except gold and silver and real asset, oil, real things were a great place to be. That's what happened. It's happened before in history. It will happen again, despite what the central bank in America tells you.
Yeah, so that would take us back to commodities. Do you think this war in Ukraine, and the strength of commodities, the possession, the resources that countries like Russia and even China have, do you think that commodities are showing the strength that they have over a fiat currency?
Well, yes, because I mean it's simple, simple economics. If there's too much of something, the price goes down. And never in world history have governments printed as much money as they've been printing in recent years. So all of this gigantic amounts of paper money is going to continue to have effect, and the value of paper money is going to continue to go down.
Okay, and Jim, with this stagflation, do you think there are going to be certain countries that are going to fare better than other countries?
Well, there always are. For instance, if you have a lot of oil and the price of oil goes through the roof, you're better off than the people who don't have oil. If you have a lot of wheat and nobody else has wheat, you're better off if the price of wheat is going through the roof. Even if you do have a badly managed economy, because you have something that can save you or help you get through the hard times. But everybody who does, every country which has huge, huge, huge debt and massive money printing is going to have a bad time, even if they have real assets. The ones with real assets will do less badly, but they'll all do badly.